It's that time of day again. It's the chicken box. It's Thursday. Oh, the 23rd. Where is the time? No, it is the 20.
24th.
It's the 24th. Time is ticking. Sometimes you do so much work you forget what day it is. How are you
Fair.
today, Jay Jackson?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Man, I am fantastic. We got another great show. You ever ask somebody how they doing and they say, okay. They never say anything good about themselves. If you have a chance to say something good about yourself, you should say it. No matter what anybody else says, but you should at least say what's something great about yourself. Not even good. Good is too average of a word, Jay. Let's go with great today.
All
I'm in a
right, that's
whole
fair.
I'm
That's
in a
fair.
whole new setup trying to get my life together. We got a fantastic guest. Welcome to the Chicken Box, everybody. I'm your host, Impeccable, with my co-host Jay Jackson. Jay, what is the title of the show today?
Well, we're actually going to pivot slightly. The title of the show is 31 Days of Grace. This is the book by Reverend Dorothy Scott Boulware, a award-winning journalist and editor who covers religion and social justice at wordandblack.com and is a pastor at large at The Hill in Jessup, Maryland. She joyfully served the AFRO Newspaper for many years and is now the contributing editor for the 32-year-old publication. Her work, along with the AFRO editorial team, has been recognized by the National Newspaper Publishers Association, the Baltimore Association of Black Journalists, and Maryland, Delaware, and District of Columbia Press Association. In 2023, she received from Black Women in Ministry their Above and Beyond Media Ministry and Leadership Award. She also received the Hampton University Ministers Conference Spirit Award for Outstanding Journalism under the leadership of its first female president, Dr. Susan Johnson Cook. So she is here to talk about her book, 31 Days of Grace, which we will get into in just a second. So, Rev, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great.
Hey, you heard the lesson, Doctor Bowen. Welcome to the Chicken Box. You've been here before, but not in this capacity. How are you today?
I'm pretty good actually. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to say I'm stupendous, but that might have been
I say that was a
overboard.
test to
That's
go
a good one. That's a good one.
what's good about you, great about yourself. 31 days of grace. I mean, we read your accolades, guys. If you don't know, she is a Afro Shiro, a legend in the pages, the digital print, everything Afro she has written. She's managed young superstars. But today we're gonna talk about 31 Days of Grace. I need it, Dr. Bower.
We all do.
Never do.
Believe me, we all do.
That title, what inspired you to write this new book?
Grace has been my thing. I think even as a child, I realized that grace was something that people who are Christian people are supposed to have and also share. And there's not enough of that. So it's been in my heart most of my life. But I was inspired to do this book recently. Um, I want to say I think the Lord just wanted done, so I got instructions almost on how to do it. But it was not a fast. I call it a feast sometimes when the Lord gives you this an assignment to do something. So for 21 days, I didn't not eat, but I did write. And I didn't know what I was going to write until each day when I began to write. So that's sort of how the book came to be.
Let's stop there for a minute. You didn't know what you were gonna write, but yet you decided to write every day. You just sat down there. A lot of people don't do something or get started just because they think they don't know how to do it or what to do. So was that a struggle to get up and just sit down, not knowing what you're gonna write, or you just a writer and love to write?
Um, I'm a writer and I love to write and I love to write by inspiration. I'm not that great a writer when you have to write by a certain pattern and all that thing, but I love to write by inspiration. And it began to be fun to just realize to figure out what was going to come to me that particular day when I sat down to write.
Absolutely. Jay, what comes to mind when you think about grace?
So I always like to think of it as sort of in life, like sort of the practicalities of life, like somebody cuts you off in traffic or something like that, right? And you go, you might get mad or something like that. And I always try to think of it from the perspective of giving that person grace, because you don't know what that person is going through. You don't know what their day is like, and things like that, which comes with maturity over time, right? And I think from the perspective of the book, that is largely what you're talking about, but from God's perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Giving his children this chance to, make mistakes or do things that maybe they, want to better themselves and things like that, but giving them that space to actually embrace becoming who they, ultimately would like to be. So I think grace is a really amazing concept, from a level, like human to human thing, and then from a God to human thing. I think it's interesting because people should be trying to mirror from a top-down perspective. So I'm very interested in this idea of, you refer to it in, at least in the summary of the book, that grace often defies definition, and so I'm interested to hear your perspective on that.
Well, let me say this. I think that when I began to pastor and began to teach people, I realized that people really didn't understand the concept of grace, really didn't understand that God loves us because God loves us, and God chooses us because he chooses us, and he includes us in his family because he includes us in his family. It doesn't matter who we are or what we've done, as long as we say yes to being a part of his whole family system. Right. And so people that I met were in church. They were doing all of the churchy things. They were serving and all of that, but they weren't serving out of the same love and grace they had received from God, because they didn't know about it. They didn't feel it. They hadn't experienced it. Therefore, they didn't have it to share with somebody else. And I'll tell you a quick story from my childhood. We did the traditional second Sunday baptism in the Baptist church with everything covered with white, and it was a big occasion, and everybody sang blood songs and just had a good time celebrating the story of God. And every second Sunday, I would see my uncle refuse communion. And I did not know why until I got older. He had done something that he thought disqualified him. And it broke my heart to realize that anybody could think that they could be disqualified from grace. And especially someone like my uncle, who loved the Lord, who knew the Bible upside down and backwards and all of that stuff. And yet he didn't think he could be forgiven for what he had done. And that's how a lot of us operate, even in the family of God. We walk around and we sing the songs and we say all the pretty things that we say in church, but at the same time, we don't realize who we really are in the family of God and how much God loves us and appreciates us.
If you just tuned in, this is the Chicken Box. We ain't talking nothing greasy today, but we're talking about some grace. I'm getting hungry every time I think about it. If you never tuned in and you're not from Baltimore, you might not know what we're talking about, but it's a nice full wings and fries, usually fried. I prefer it to be air fried now or grilled, but as I get older. But salt, pepper, ketchup, and some potato wedges and some half and half, or as they call it in other parts of the world, the good old Arnold Palmer, which I think he probably stole the name when he came to Baltimore and won his first tournament. But that's up for debate. He won his first tournament at Mount Pleasant in Baltimore. For some reason, it used to be half and half, and now that sweet tea lemonade is called Arnold Palmer everywhere else. Anyway, I'm all off the subject. We're talking about grace. We're talking to Dr. Dorothy Boulware, one of the AFRO family's legends who we love so much. And she continues to write and share. Now, you're doing something for Word in Black as well in your spare time. You won't slow down, Dr. Boulware. You just keep going. Some people want to retire. You just keep going. So tell us what's happening with you right now.
Well, I retired a couple of times, but I didn't really like it, so I would just go back to work.
Good for you.
So the perfect position for me at Word in Black came about in January of last year, just around the same time they became a company, for those who don't know about Word in Black, which is owned by 10 of the top Black publishers in this country. My beat, or as a vertical as they call it now, Kevin, I don't know if you know that. It's no longer a beat, it's a vertical.
Right. Well, for people just watching, tell them what the beat is. And then, I mean, and it's not a new record, but tell them what the beat is.
So the beat is the area that a journalist covers.
Okay.
Everything under the umbrella of that particular beat. Like when I started at the AFRO, I was general assignment, so I'd go everywhere. And then I became an education reporter, and I went to the schools and covered all the things the kids were doing. So now my beat is religion and social justice. And I have the pleasure of letting the world know that the faith community is not just interior and worshiping God in the house, but they are out making a difference in the world. They are creating jobs for people who don't have jobs. They are feeding hungry people. They are fighting in the courts. They are leading the fight against Target and all of those kinds of things that are happening that a lot of people don't know about. So I really enjoy getting the word out about what's going on.
Absolutely. You brought up that word that started with a T. I hope y'all
Yes.
still on that game, because I ride right by it now. Even if I got to go in there, I ride right by it, and I don't even think, well, matter of fact, I don't even miss going in there. I hope they miss our money, because we still on that boycott for the T word. I'm not even going to say their name. I ain't going to give them no. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It got a little red circle. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying. Hope everybody's feeling all right. So look, when I was thinking about the 31 Days of Grace, which is your what 100th book, what number?
I think it's number 8 of 11.
Okay, number 8 of 11. So listen, I don't know what I was watching the other night with God. I think it was Dr. Miles Monroe, when he was like, "You got a plan, like like God's people have to put a plan in motion to get something done." And you sound like 8 of 11 sounds like a plan. Like Jay, you the sci-fi guy. Like it's the Star Wars, some kind of series.
Absolutely.
To 11, power is going off. It's going off the air. Dorothy Boulware is going to put the book pen down. So, Dr. Boulware, when I think of grace, I always hear in the back of my mind mercy too. So, how do you define grace?
Can I read you something that I wrote?
Absolutely. I love it.
This is on the back cover of the book. Grace is getting a second chance. Grace cleanses the heart that made the wrong choice. Grace cleanses of the guilt of having made the wrong choice. Grace erases the need to denigrate oneself for having made that choice. Grace prevents the ensuing conversation about the inherent resident evil that had to have been the impetus for the choice in the first place. Grace holds up a stop sign to demand a cease and desist order on the soon to come "woe is me and I'm just no good" songs. Grace speaks the mystic word mercy. Grace reminds that mercy exists. Grace reminds that mercy is a member of the grace package. Grace reminds that mercy is a team leader, that mercy knows the case, that mercy is pliable, that mercy is customized. Grace reminds that mercy is shaped as a garment, that mercy is a major hitter because mercy suits our case. Mercy is suited to every aspect of the case. Mercy is a worthy advocate. Mercy is a well-skilled advocate. Mercy always wins.
Good God Almighty. And that's it for today's church sermon, y'all. Mercy always wins. If you just tuned in, this is the Chicken Box. We're talking to Dr. Dorothy Boulware, editor at large now.
I'm just a freelancer now.
No, you
Yeah.
still an editor. You can't go back to a freelancer. You're a freelance editor if that's what. She's hanging out with us on the Chicken Box today. 31 Days of Grace is her book. Where can we get this book? Can we get it from your website?
It's on my website. You can get it there. You can get it from Amazon. Along with the you didn't ask me about the ones I've written since then.
Well, I'm trying to stay on grace. Listen, you
Got three days. She's got three ready.
come back on another show, Dr. Boulware. We got to give all the love and attention to this. Because at a young age, and a doctor, what's the guy's name from? I kind of erased him out of his mind once he started hanging with Trump. But what's his name from?
Oh Lord, Carson.
Carson. Okay, the most profound thing as a young man, I found that he said it was 31 days in most months, right? And there was 31 proverbs, and that he used to read a proverb every day. So as a young man, who was looking for some wisdom, I started reading the proverbs every day. So did the 31 days have anything to do with the calendar when you titled the book?
It did, just in the fact that I wanted it to be a reading for every day of a month. So 31 covered them all. That was the only reason for that particular number. But I've heard other people say that they read a proverb every day.
Sometimes like, I don't feel like reading the Bible, but I will binge watch everything. I don't do too much praying. As soon as I pray, I go to sleep. All those things happen. Look, we better than this, people. We can focus. Proverb a day, a grace chapter a day. Jay Jackson, jump in, man.
Yeah. So that's funny. So you mentioned earlier that like your anecdote about your uncle, I believe it was. What are your thoughts on this idea of, yes, these people are, you deeply believe in the message, and you believe in grace, but you don't sort of see it for yourself and things like that. Where do you think that disconnect comes from? That you can feel so connected to all of this, all of the sort of the information that you have, right? You're in church, you're around people, you are well within it, but you don't see it for yourself. Like where does that disconnect happen, that you can sit next to the person in the pew next to you and be like, yeah, I agree, we all got to give each other grace, and then like internally you don't feel like that you're worthy of it? I'm very interested as to why you think that may be happening, and do you think it's common?
I think it's common. I think about how often you have heard a sermon about God's love for you, as opposed to a sermon about how sinful we are, how ungrateful we are, how whatever we are. So it depends on how people have been taught. When we give our lives to the Lord, we enter into a personal relationship with God through Jesus Christ. And if we tend to that relationship, then through the teaching, through the relationship, through the Holy Spirit, we will learn that we are beloved children of God. But if we don't get that, then we go through the motions of it all without having the reality of it inside of us. You ever hear people say church people are the meanest people in the world?
Absolutely, yeah. They do. People do say that, right?
Yeah, so why are church people mean? Mean to themselves, mean to each other? People don't like to go to church because what? Somebody's going to yell at you because you're sitting in their seat that they've been sitting in for 35 years. And you don't know because you have never been there before. So I think it's based on whatever teaching we receive, whatever we learn ourselves through our reading of the scriptures and through nurturing of our relationship with the Lord. If you talk to him, he talks back. And he doesn't talk like I'm talking to you now. Right. But if you offer him a question, he will get an answer to you in a way that you can understand it. It may be in another book that you pick up and read. It might be in another sermon that you hear. It might be somebody that you don't even know might come and talk to you and say something to you. And you're like, well, because it's so relevant to what you have wanted for the day. But
Might
if
be
you, what you say, Kevin?
might be rushing and stub your toe. You need to slow down. You're like, God, what are you saying? Why is this happening? Right?
Exactly.
So I get it. I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Listen, share this. Everybody needs some grace. 31 days of grace. I used to hear that mercy was something you did. Like is it grace or mercy something that you can't earn, like something you don't deserve?
Grace is unmerited favor. It's what God gives you that you don't deserve. Mercy is what God uses to keep you from getting what you do deserve.
Oh,
so that's why they go
there was right. Grace. All right, let's go back. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't take anything from it. Grace is unmerited favor, which is your book, 31 Days of Grace.
Yeah.
And mercy is what God keeps from happening to you when you really deserve, to.
Is that mercy is that quality of not receiving what you should receive.
Right. Okay. All right.
So with the two of them, we're all totally covered if we just walk in it and receive it.
Right. So they used to say as a child or as God's child, you still get spankings. Is that right, Dr. Boulware?
You may sometimes still get a spanking.
No, I'm just saying. That
parent doesn't have to always give you grace, right?
I'm saying that, but that doesn't mean you didn't have grace. You know what I'm saying? Because you got the spanking. I mean, sometimes you need to get the spanking. I mean, I'm not trying Child Protective Services to call me, but you know what I'm saying? They used to say spare the rod, spoil the child. You know what I mean? And I get it now, because sometimes if you didn't get chastened or a spanking in a certain area at a certain age, you might have gone on to do something different that caused you more pain down the road because you didn't get that. You know what? You need to slow down here.
And it's not so much a spanking as it is a consequence.
There you go.
That's what our children need. They need a consequence. If they're not performing as they're supposed to, then there needs to be a consequence. If there's no consequence, there's no reason for change.
Right. What you think about that, Jay? You're a young dad.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are consequences that you can put on your child. I'm not a spanking kind of dad. That's just not me. But to each their own.
How old are they?
My daughter is 6.
6. Yeah. So what are they timeouts? I know we're going. I'm trying to bring grace home.
Yeah, no worries. No, there are timeouts. There's just like take it easy type of thing. Like you can go to your room and calm down, but no, we don't do the spanking thing.
Mm-hmm.
How about level voice raising?
Yeah, I mean that happens, but we try not to raise our voice too often. Yeah. The easier said than done. I'll say that. Through practice and giving myself grace and my wife and us both giving each other grace. That is the way that works. But
now I was getting a spanking with the belt.
Oh, I didn't say I didn't get it. I said I don't do it. I said I don't do it.
My sister, as soon as you raised the voice with her, them crocodile tears come. I'm like, wait.
That was it.
Man, where's the belt?
No, that's for you specifically, right? No, but no, I didn't say I didn't grow up with
that. Was her. She had mercy, Dr. Boulware.
She
she was
also a good actress.
She deserved it.
Look, that matters. That matters.
She deserved the belt. Listen, we're this is the Chicken Box powered by the AFRO, the nation's, and I might say the world's oldest Black media company, 132 years, family owned for 132 years. And we have Dr. Boulware, the author, the editor, the writer. She has worked. She said she retired from the AFRO like 3 times, came back because she was bored. So she's still with us in some kind of capacity. Listen, as you get older, you have to accelerate towards things you love. Sometimes you think you have all the time, which you don't know the time that you have, right? But now that we're getting older, we have to accelerate because there's still some things that you said you wish you would have done or that you want to do. And you're on book 8 of 11, and you're still going. And there's some people who still ain't gotten that first book out. It's a lot of writing help out there now too. Anyway, I'm gonna leave that alone. Dr.
No,
Boulware,
no, we're not going to do it that way.
that's what I said. I'm gonna leave that one alone. Okay. How has AI helped you, or do you use it at all in any of your writing?
I tell you what I have used it for, and it has saved my life. Covers, book covers.
Mm.
I have been able to just tell it exactly what I wanted for a cover and get the perfect thing that I asked for. And that's always a headache, especially when you're a self-publisher. You don't want to spend a lot of money. So it's difficult to get a really good cover, but that's been the thing. And I'm so grateful for that. That's about all I need it for.
So let's talk about that since you brought it up.
Okay.
Self-publishing. And this is book 8. What do you say to the person out there who's ready to get started self-publishing their first book?
Unless you have the great grace to be approached by a real publisher who loves your work, who is willing to edit it to a certain degree and offer you in advance so that you can work on the book until it's ready to be published, then it is a wise thing to try to publish it yourself rather than go to a vanity publisher who will charge a lot of money. And sometimes, I mean, you have to read the fine print because sometimes what you need the most is not included in the package. And, you end up paying even more money. The system on, I use KDP. That's the only thing I've ever used. The system on that, I believe, is easy enough that if you don't tell yourself you can't do it, you really will be able to do it, and you can get some help to do it. I got my first book published by a vanity publisher, and when I saw what they offered and what they were willing to deliver, then I decided to do the rest of them on my own. So I've done my own, and then I've helped other people do theirs also.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. So, do you help? So, if somebody needed a little push or they wanted some help, they can come here to this website and get in contact with you. Dorothy Scott Boulware.com. What happened
Absolutely.
to the doctor Dorothy? It's a lot of work to be a doctor. Anyway,
Everybody gives me that title, Kevin. The only doctorate I have is an honorary doctorate.
Oh, Dr. Boulware, we've been calling you Dr. Boulware.
Everybody does. People I don't know, when I meet them, they begin to call me that. I don't know why.
You feel you must feel doctorial in your
Give off that vibe. There you go.
Your presence. Jay?
So Nathan Carter came to the Afro one evening looking for me to do a story, and he was at the front.
Take us back. This is the new Afro archive. So take us back to who Nathan Carter is. So,
okay, Dr. Nathan Carter. One of the, I'll just call him a musical genius. Dr. Nathan Carter was the director of the Morgan State University Choir, which has traveled all around the world. And he was instrumental in building it to where it is now. And actually, he came to the Afro that particular evening because they were getting ready to go to Czechoslovakia or someplace. And we were working on a story plan. But when he came in the door, he said very loudly he was looking for Dr. Boulware. And Mr. Washington was at the front desk. And so from that point on, Mr. Washington called me Dr. Boulware.
But people in church, they'll call anybody doctor. You
Yes.
ever notice that, Jay? You ever notice that they just say,
Yes.
"What's up,
Everybody.
doctor?"
Yeah.
Doctor. They just put a doctor on your name all of a sudden. Hey, doctor.
I always correct people because that's too much work to get a real doctorate, to have somebody just laying it on you because they like you.
Right.
Fair enough.
I mean, hey, Jay, maybe that's just some urban vernacular.
Yeah, my wife has a doctorate, but for some reason I told her, I said if I ever had a doctorate, I would demand that people put it in front of my name all the time. She's like, no, they don't have to. I'm like, I would. You're different from me. I'd have a gold chain on.
My husband would have to call me doctor.
That's right. Absolutely. I earned it. Get out of here.
Well, you've been speaking to your husband. Congratulations on being married. How long you been married? 40,
56 years.
56 years. Congratulations. So,
Amazing.
so is any chapters about grace and marriage? In
The
that
whole book.
One day at a time.
Right. Jay said the whole book.
The whole book.
Jay,
Like,
The
how
whole
long you
book.
been married, Jay?
that's the follow up. That's number 12. It's just the marriage grace book. So, yeah.
How long have you been married, Jay?
I have been married now for coming up on 12 years. In
Good.
Yeah. So
Hey, you figured out the grace. My dad said grace is saying this. Yes, dear. And said if you learn them 2 words, you'll be married forever. Yes, dear. Look,
be a little bit more accommodating.
So 31 days of grace. Jay, you got any questions that's burning?
So I do want to ask the other books that you're working on. Are these all in the same realm? Like you said, grace is incredibly important to you, and this is a big focus of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Are these other books, book 9, 10, and 11, or future books past that, are they all sort of dealing with this? Or are there aspects of grace? Here's a better question. Are there aspects of grace that you think maybe you didn't have a chance to fully touch on in this book that you'd like to explore going forward?
I don't. I can't answer that question because I don't know.
Sure.
The books that I have written have been inspirational books. Books on prayer, on the Holy Spirit. The last book I wrote was called Just Chilling in Prayer. Biblical prayers and our prayers and all that kind of thing. So I guess I have a feeling I want to make the relationship easier. We sort of make our relationship with the Lord difficult, but I think I want to just make it a little easier. So, here's a book on prayer, or here's a book on grace. One of the books I've written is on becoming a compelling disciple. So, how you treat people, and how you go out and talk to people, and how you sort of live in the world when you want to be that magnet that attracts people so that the Lord can do the drawing to himself.
So you like the I didn't want to say it. You know how you got the book Something for Dummies? so we can just dumb down everything, prayer for dummies. I'm not calling nobody a dummy. But I mean, you have the practical guide. I don't know why that popped in, because I had all those yellow and black books. I don't know how many dummy books I bought before the computer. It's like something for dummies, doing this. For Jay, you ever buy one of those books?
No.
Jay was too smart. He's like, I ain't buying no dummy.
No, I'm not admitting to any of this on air.
I was going to say, Jay, you could have said something.
I was going to hang about the dry a little bit for that one. No, but I mean, it's kind of like the chicken soup for the soul kind of books, right? Those are, that path of entry to understand these things. Somebody, with all your, depth of knowledge and things like that, it's good to have people take all of this that's there and just kind of be like, this is what this kind of means, or maybe this is what it means for me. And I think a lot of people can find, topics of grace and anything like that to be overwhelming. And, to your story about your uncle, like it can feel overwhelming. Like, nah, I don't deserve this. I'm out. I'm just not gonna worry about it, and I'm just gonna kind of pull myself out of this. But if you have that ability to reach for this book that explains it in a way that you can understand and comes off a little bit more connected to your experiences, then people can have a foothold into it. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably a major benefit of having people who study this so deeply and be able to translate it for the masses. I think is important, even if the book is not black and yellow.
I like your uncle's story too, because you were saying he wasn't taking communion for a long time.
All of my life, he didn't take communion, but he was there every Sunday, dressed to the hilt. I mean, he could have probably recited half the Bible by memory. All my life, he never took communion until the day he died.
So he took it before he died?
No. I mean,
Oh, you did?
he never took it in my whole life, and I think I remember noticing when I was about 8 years old. But yeah, I just thought that was a shame because he had so much love for the Lord, but he didn't seem to know that the Lord was loving him back. That's an awful thing.
It was a teaching, and maybe we could dig back with another thing that I would recall somebody talking about communion, like don't take it if you haven't done something. I got to look back to studying. If you haven't made it right, if you haven't
Yeah.
repented,
If you
you know
have
what I'm
aught,
talking
it's
about.
the Baptist wording is if you have aught against your brother. If there's something unsettled in your relationship with you and another Christian, you're supposed to straighten that out before you take communion. And
Okay.
in some services, they will actually give you a few minutes if there's, in case there's somebody there you need to go and apologize to or something like that before you actually take communion.
That might be a whole nother show, Jay, because we take communion be different now. You know what I mean? You go to some who used to drink out that same cup and just wipe it with that rag. You be like,
Yeah,
I ain't doing that no more. Then somebody
right.
came up with some other little things. The wafer and the first they were separate. You try and do your balancing act, then some genius put them together in the package so you could throw it. Hey, you didn't get one yet? You can throw it down the aisle. But yeah. So yeah, we're gonna have to study about communion. But 31 Days of Grace, it's a fantastic book, guys. You go pick it up. Dr. Boulware, we're about to get on the box. And then the final words, we're glad you're here. Everybody, if you're looking for assistance in writing, you have, I'm talking about a wealth of knowledge in Dr. Dorothy. You're gonna be Dr. Dorothy Boulware to me, even if you didn't get it from now on. DorothyScottBoulware.com. She can help you out. She's on her 8th of 11 book. Thank you for tuning in. Craig Talley said on this communion tip, if you're not saved, okay, thank you, Bible scholars out there. If you haven't given your life to Christ, then you take in communion unless you're a child and don't understand. I think that was the teaching about it. But anyway, I had to bring him on to do some more explaining. But shout out to everybody's listening. Everybody, this is 31 Days of Grace. Put a little mercy in there. Let's go back to our quick lesson. Do you remember what it was? Grace is what, Jay? You remember?
Was it unmerited? I forget the term you used. I apologize.
Favor.
Unmerited favor. There you go.
Unmerited favor, and then mercy is
to protect you from when you're not getting what you deserve. Right.
I think that's close enough.
It's close enough. It's to keep you from getting what you do deserve.
Unmerited favor.
Grace gives you what you don't deserve. Mercy keeps you from getting what you do deserve.
There you go. I had to go back and write that down. That's a simple thing y'all can put in your notes today. The final words on about, look, this is powered by the AFRO 132-year-old media company. Go to AFRO.com. For less than you waste at the hairdresser, nail salon, Uber Eats, barbershop, you can get a digital subscription. Just visit us right now. We're more than just your grandmother's newspaper. We still have the newspaper, though, for those who like to feel it. We got the vintage, we got the throwback, but for the up-to-date information, the true information about the Black community, you need to come to AFRO.com, where the source is always going to be empowering, informing, and educating our community and keeping us up on the latest information that we need and the great things that happen in our community that nobody's talking about. Like Dr. Boulware said earlier, you're always hearing something in church about, don't do this, don't do, like you're getting beat up left and right. But, you need a little bit more love sermons every now and then, just to hug on you and love you too, because sometimes you don't need to be punched in the mouth. Sometimes you need to be hugged. So I guess I was on the chicken box. I'm on the box. This is where we stand and we speak our final words. It's always a pleasure to see you. Every time I've seen you since I was a little child at the AFRO, always been very pleasant. and had a wonderful, welcoming spirit. And you could be in the thickest part of the editorial day, and you had the same demeanor. And I thank you for that. And thank you for sharing 31 Days of Grace. It's the book on Amazon?
Yes.
All right, the book is on Amazon. Go pick it up. Learn about grace, people, and being grateful. It's going to change your life. I believe it. Jay Jackson, final word. You're on the box.
Well, Dr. Rev, thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. Look, I think this idea of truly understanding what grace is, whether it is you think you know, or that you believe that you have it, but you don't believe that it's just for you, and you don't want to embrace it. You don't think that you deserve it. I think this is a really good space to kind of learn that you do deserve it, and that you should give yourself grace. You should accept that grace that is given to you by God. I think that's wonderful. It was a really interesting conversation because I don't like, I have my thoughts on what grace is, but to hear it coming from you, I think it was just really fascinating. So I appreciate you and you giving your time for that. Whether it is not only just explaining it, but also giving your own anecdotes about what you saw from your family perspective too, I think is really powerful. So thank you for coming in. Really enjoyed it.
My pleasure.
And now, Dr. Boulware, you are on the box. Final word, you can say whatever you want to say.
What I would say is give grace a chance. Spend some time with the Lord. Talk to him. Listen to him. Let him love on you. It'll make you a better Christian.
Let him love on you. The benediction has been sent. You know how I always like to say, call a senior. They love to hear from you. Don't text them. Do a random act of kindness. Bring them some groceries. Send them some groceries, not from you know what, the red circle. Do not send anything from there. And just show them that you're thinking about them. It's going to make their day. And it might even make their month, because a lot of people are not checking in on the seniors. So remember to do that. Until next time, God willing. Thank you for everybody who's commented. Bishop McClurkin, how you doing? Grace, yeah, with a question mark. Thanks for tuning in. Share it. Dr. Boulware, Reverend Boulware's book, 31 Days of Grace. Until next time, everybody, Jay Jackson, Impeccable, and Dr. Draper, the AFRO CEO who couldn't join us today. We hope to see you next week. God bless you. We got the tea coming up. We got the AFRO tea coming up this weekend. It's sold out. I know, I'm telling you now.
I'll
but
be
anyway,
there.
they got a DC tea. You know, I think I'm going to make an appearance this year myself. I'm going to fly all the way in from Atlanta just to come through. Talk to you guys later. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.